This week on Jerusalem Dateline, real-life raiders of the Lost Ark. The Israeli professor who said he was just days away from finding the Ark of the Covenant. Plus, a journalist in Jerusalem makes a shocking discovery. The plot to rid the Middle East of Jews first and then Christians. And building goodwill for Israel. How this unique sporting event is winning hearts for the Holy Land. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. One of the greatest unsolved mysteries of history is the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. Students of the Bible know the Ark was the sacred vessel that contained the original 10 Commandments, and that the children of Israel kept it in the innermost part of the temple, the Holy of Holies. Today, some archaeologists are still searching for the Ark, and some of them say the trail ends not far from where it first began, right behind me on the Temple Mount. Designed by God, created by Moses, and revered by the Israelites. From the Sinai Desert to the Temple of Solomon, the Ark of the Covenant was the place of meeting between God and man. In 586 BC, Israel was conquered by the Babylonians. The temple was raided by Nebuchadnezzar's army, and the Ark disappeared from the pages of history.
What happened? Why did this most dramatic instrument of God's glory and power in human history suddenly vanish?
Why do you think people are so fascinated by the location of the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a very interesting question.
Archaeologist Gabriel Barkay has sifted through centuries of Jerusalem's history. And in 45 years, he hasn't found any sign of the Ark.
All what we know is legends.
And those legends stretch all over the ancient world, starting with Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon.
The Ark of the Covenant was made of wood and it was gold-plated. Such an amount of gold would be melted down at the time of war, immediately after it was captured.
Do you think it's very likely that the Ark itself was destroyed at that time?
I think so. I think so.
Jewish writings say the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark on Mount Nebo in Jordan. Another legend claims it was smuggled to Ethiopia by the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. In Israel, most rabbis agree that when it comes to the Ark, all roads lead back here to Jerusalem. They say the Ark never left the city, and to them, the so-called Lost Ark was never really lost. On June 7, 1967, Israeli troops recaptured Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. The Western Wall was in Jewish hands, and those hands were ready to dig. Archaeologists exposed parts of the wall that had been buried for 2,000 years. But not all of the digging was done legally. In 1981, two of Israel's highest-ranking rabbis, Shlomo Goren and Yehuda Getz, picked up their pickaxes and started chiseling under the Temple Mount.
And he knew that in the end of the gate, he will come to the secret room where the Ark of Covenant is located.
Gershon Solomon was one of the paratroopers who liberated the Western Wall in 1967. And he was there 14 years later, the night Rabbi Getz opened a secret passage in the wall.
After midnight, I was in the bed already, and he called me and said to me, Gershon, come immediately, don't wait, your dream is going to be fulfilled. What happened? I told him. The Messiah came, and he told me he's coming almost.
But first came a subterranean slugfest.
Arab demonstrations, you know, they started to throw stones on the workers. The Israelis are coming to build the temple underneath the Dome of the Rock.
At the end of the day, the passage to the Temple Mount was permanently sealed by Israeli police.
No doubt, I tell you, no doubt, We needed just maybe 2 days more to come to the place where the Ark of Covenant is located.
The work was done without archaeological supervision. And when I was the official archaeologist of Jerusalem, I decided to stop the work. I say,
Dan Bahat directed the excavation of the Western Wall tunnels. And according to him, the search for the Ark stops with Jeremiah 3:16.
Prophet Jeremiah says there will come a day when the Ark of the Covenant will not be seen, nor will it be visited. In other words, this was a hint from God. Don't look for the Ark of the Covenant.
Scholars may not agree on the fate of the Ark, but many of them agree on one thing. Its discovery could set in motion another event that's been 2,000 years in the making: the rebuilding of the Jewish temple.
Perhaps when it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Why? Because both in Ezra and Nehemiah, the Bible indicates that when it was time to build the second temple, God restored the treasures from the first temple, which of course had been carted off to Babylon. When it's time to build the third temple, the second temple treasures will be found. Wouldn't that be dramatic?
It is soon to come. I tell you, I promise you, when you check me, test me, it will be in our lifetime.
If you'd like to read more about these discoveries, you can like our history and archaeology page on Facebook. Iran has a new president, and he sounds a lot like the old president when it comes to Israel. Plus, American Christians are standing up for the Jewish state. Our weekly news wrap-up covers those stories and more.
Hello everyone, I'm George Thomas. Iran's new president made some anti-Israel comments in the days before his recent inauguration. Hassan Rouhani said the Zionist regime has been a wound on the body of the Islamic world for years, and the wound should be removed. Later comments on Rouhani's website deleted that direct reference to removing Israel. The new comment cited him only as saying, quote, "The occupation of Palestine and Jerusalem is a wound on the body of the Islamic world." Iran has long viewed Israel as an enemy, and most expect that view will continue. Israel is upping the pressure on Iran's nuclear program. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu renewed his threat for military action in a message to Christian supporters in America recently. CBN News terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck has the story.
Thousands of pro-Israel supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. this week for the 8th annual Christians United for Israel Summit. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to the crowd via satellite. After thanking them for their unwavering support, he also warned that Israel isn't the only target of Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Those weapons aren't prepared to launch against Israel. They already have missiles that can hit Israel. Those ICBMs are intended for you to hit the United States, and they could have them very soon.
The summit attracted thousands of pro-Israel heavy hitters and lawmakers.
What's wrong with the world are regimes from Tehran to the Muslim Brotherhood in Cairo that permit or even encourage the continued persecution and murder of Christians and Jews.
The Christians in the Middle East and the Jews in the Middle East are standing because they have a power unlike any other power on the face of the earth. They have the power of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Pastor John Hagee founded Christians United for Israel, which includes more than 1 million members. Hagee told CBN News he's calling on their continued support of the Jewish people.
We must stand with Israel as they stand against the tyranny of Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, the making of the bomb. There must never be a nuclear bomb in Iran. That is the single most important geopolitical issue facing America and the free world.
During their time in Washington, CUFI members also took to Capitol Hill to lobby lawmakers on behalf of Israel. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Eric. President Obama's controversial choice to serve as U.S. ambassador to the UN has been approved. The Senate voted 87-10 to confirm Samantha Power to the post. Power has been an outspoken critic of Israel, and some accuse her of anti-Semitism. For the first time in 3 years, Israelis and Palestinians are sitting down to talk about peace. But the new step has come with a high price for Israel, and it is still doubtful that either side is willing to budge on major issues like dividing Jerusalem. Dale Hood has that story.
The peace talks could only happen after Israel's cabinet gave in to American pressure to release 104 Palestinian prisoners convicted of killing Israelis. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "This is not an easy moment for me, but there are moments when I need to make tough decisions for the good of the country, and this is one of those moments." Other Israeli cabinet members agreed.
Everybody feels bad about the idea of releasing the prisoners because this is a bunch of really hideous people with a terrible history, but we have to do what we have to do in order to make the peace process progress.
On the Palestinian side, the move was met with immediate distrust.
We think this is an act of blackmail, that their release will be used as an instrument of blackmailing the Palestinian negotiating team.
The return to direct contacts between the two sides gave U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry his first concrete achievement after months of shuttle diplomacy. But hundreds of Israelis who lost loved ones in Palestinian terrorist attacks protested outside the government complex.
It's a shame to the American nation that Kerry is making his career on the back of the families who lost a loved one.
The U.S. said preliminary peace talks would begin today, but it remains unclear whether they'll lead to a formal resumption of peace talks that broke down in 2008. At the heart of the stalemate, Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu said Jerusalem will never be divided. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said there can be no agreement without a Palestinian capital in East Jerusalem, home to the Temple Mount. Analysts warn the talks will fail if Jerusalem is not resolved. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Up next, genocidal graffiti. Learn what it says about killing Jews and Christians.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. It's a chilling slogan found throughout the Middle East. On Saturday, we kill the Jews. On Sunday, we kill the Christians. It's graffiti written by radical Islamists. Recently, Scott Ross sat down with journalist Leila Gilbert right here in Jerusalem to talk about the link between the persecution of Jews and the persecution of Christians.
Leila Gilbert is a California author who spends much of her time in Jerusalem. I spoke with her overlooking Jerusalem's old city and heard what she discovered about radical Islamic plans to first rid the Middle East of Jews and then of Christians. Gilbert arrived during Israel's 2006 war with Hezbollah in Lebanon for a 3-month visit and decided to stay. And now, out of all this, a book. I was fascinated by the title, Saturday People, Sunday People. Define that significance.
It's graffiti from radical Islamists that appears throughout the Middle East. In the best terms, it says first comes Saturday, then comes Sunday. But there's a flag, a photo of a flag in the book that says, on Saturday we kill the Jews, on Sunday we kill the Christians. And that's where I got the title.
Gilbert says even though many of the world's Muslims are not violent, their voice is drowned out by radical elements.
There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world or something. I don't think every one of them is a terrorist, but I think that the influences they're under now, both governmentally and in terms of mullahs and various mosques, there's an influence that's inescapable.
And under that influence, persecution of Christians in the Middle East has exploded, so much so that Christians are leaving in droves.
There's a great danger that there will be no Christian community in the Middle East in the next 100 years, maybe less.
Where in the Middle East are we talking?
Well, the countries that kicked the Jews out between 1948 and 1970, there are hardly any Jews left in those countries. There are about 10 countries. Now the Christians are going through the same kind of abuse.
You use the term in the book, cultural intifada. Yes. What do you mean by that?
I was referring in the book to the Temple Mount, which is where this is the most evident. But it has spread from the Temple Mount to greater Israel because the Muslim, at least certain leaders in the Muslim community, deny that there was ever a temple on the Temple Mount or that there was ever a Jewish root in this land.
But isn't that why it's called the Temple Mount?
That's correct. In fact, even in some of the Muslim literature from the turn of the century, it speaks of the temple on the Temple Mount. But this started with Arafat. At least the most public statement of it came from Arafat when he was dealing with Bill Clinton on one of these arrangements. And he said, well, there was never a temple there.
Archaeological evidence thrown out by Muslim builders from under the Temple Mount shows that not only were there first and second Jewish temples at the site, but at one time, there was a Christian basilica. Today, neither Jews nor Christians are allowed to pray, sing, or openly worship at the holy site. Doesn't Islam believe that this is where Muhammad ascended into heaven on a white horse?
Yes, that's what they believe, and that's the only reason it's important to them. In fact, it's interesting. Jerusalem is not even mentioned in the Quran at all.
So why is it so important to the Muslims?
Well, the Muslims have sort of found political reasons to emphasize certain things over the centuries. And whenever Jerusalem has become important, it's become important because of their own regimes, wherever they were placed, whether in Syria or in Egypt or whatever. But now, of course, it's become the center of everything because they want a pan-Islamic empire. They do not want Jews or Christians in it. And that's why the focus is that there are no Jewish roots here. It's all made up.
Persecution by Islamists is not the only challenge for Christians here. I asked Leila how Christians relate to each other here in the Holy Land. There are many Christian sects, denominations, etc., in this land. How are they doing with one another?
Not too well.
No?
They're not doing much better than the ones in America. And you've got Christians arguing about prophecy. I mean, evangelicals arguing about all kinds of things, much less the old churches who have ancient rifts within themselves that go back to the 4th century. So it's not surprising, but what we know is that we all look pretty much the same through a jihadi rifle sight. And maybe we need to remember that.
Are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful because of my faith in the Lord and in His way of working things out. Politically, I can't understand what's going to happen. My hope is in Him. That's the only hope I have. And I believe in Him, and He's worked in my life in so many miraculous ways that I have to believe He's going to work amongst His people and bring them together and protect them.
Coming up, Israel's Olympics, the sporting event that's opening eyes for Jews around the world.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Recently, Israel hosted one of the world's largest international sporting events. The Maccabee Games are also known as the Jewish Olympics. They draw thousands of athletes while also creating new ambassadors for the Jewish state. George Thomas has that story.
19-year-old American rider Rebecca Weisbard joined some 9,000 Jewish athletes to participate in the 19th Maccabee Games.
To be riding in my homeland is amazing.
Held every 4 years, the games take place throughout the country, and this year were hosted by Jerusalem for the first time.
Well, Jerusalem is the capital of the Jewish people, and it's only natural that we have the Maccabee Games, the Jewish World Cup, if you'd like, to have them here in the capital.
It's the third largest international sporting competition in the world. Participants from more than 70 countries took part in some 40 different events. For the first time, equestrians competed in events such as Grand Prix jumping and dressage. Riders from abroad had to compete on Israeli horses.
The horse that I drew had one eye. The day before the competition, he walks out. He was not 100% sound. So they said, try this Duval horse. He's the reserve horse. And we clicked immediately.
Her skill and that click won Weisbard the gold medal for jumping.
The fact that she came out on a horse that's not hers, figured out that horse, and was successful and won a gold medal. It's a big honor.
The first Maccabee was held in 1932. They've been held regularly since then, except during World War II and the founding of the State of Israel. More than 1,100 athletes came from the U.S. this time, and American teams won the championship games in men's soccer and men's basketball, both times facing off against Argentina.
We tried hard, but they are great athletes, they play a great game, and we fall short but just by a little bit, so we are happy.
The name Maccabee refers to the Jewish family that overthrew a Syrian Greek ruler some 200 years before Jesus. The driving force behind the games today is to familiarize Jews around the world with Israel.
And we've accomplished our mission. We brought them to Israel to play sports, and that's our hook. But we got them here for a fantastic program.
Ron Connor is president of Maccabee USA.
They learned about Israel, they learned what's going on in this world, and they can go back home and they can be the ambassadors at their universities, at their communities, with their friends and family, so they can tell them really what Israel is all about.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Up next, see the beauty and majesty of horse and rider at the Maccabee Games.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road?
then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
One of the most beautiful events at the Maccabee Games is the Equestrian Competition. Our cameraman Jonathan Goff put this music video together showing both the athleticism and beauty of horse and rider. Well, that's it for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time, right here in Jerusalem.